On May 4, 2003, a shocking incident shook the state of Kentucky. At the heart of this disturbing event was Katie Autry, an 18-year-old freshman at Western Kentucky University in Bowling Green. Tragically, Katie became the victim of a horrific and unimaginable crime. She was set on fire in her dorm room, suffering a terrible death. What do you think led to this awful tragedy? And who might be responsible for such a heinous act? Melissa Cady, known simply as Katie, was born on June 10, 1984, in Richmond, Kentucky. Unfortunately, her childhood was far from easy. She grew up alongside her sister Lisa and their mother, Donnie Rose. Much of the family's struggles stemmed from their mother's mental health challenges, as she suffered from schizophrenia. When Katie was just 10 years old, she and her sister were placed in foster care due to their mother's struggles. Eventually, Katie found stability living with her older foster parents, Jim and Shirley Inman, in Pellville. Despite the many changes, Katie maintained contact with her biological mother throughout her life. She excelled in school and was a cheerleader, even though she was petite and blonde. Katie made a strong impression when she graduated from Hancock County High School in February 2002. Katie decided to attend Western Kentucky University to pursue her goal of becoming a dental hygienist. She began her freshman year in February and embraced the freedom and new experiences college life brought. She quickly formed a close friendship that grew into a roommate relationship with someone she connected with deeply. Together, they enjoyed parties, drinking, and being active in the campus social scene. Throughout all these changes, Katie kept in touch with her biological mother and continued to do well academically, balancing school and cheerleading despite her small stature. Katie left a lasting impact when she graduated from Hancock County High School in February 2002. She chose to attend Western Kentucky University to pursue her goal of becoming a dental hygienist. During her freshman year, Katie made the significant decision to leave the Kentucky foster care system. She chose independence, but this meant losing the financial support she had been receiving for her college education as a foster child. Katie had to face the challenge of funding her education on her own. She reduced her course load to part-time and took on multiple off-campus jobs to cover her expenses. Among these jobs, she briefly worked as an exotic dancer to make ends meet throughout her life. Katie had earned numerous awards and accolades throughout her school and college years. She was recognized as an academic all-state student and received honors like Honor Student of the Month and Most Improved Dancer between 1998 and 1999. Her record was one of consistent achievement. Sadly, just as she was about to embark on some exciting new chapters, a terrifying tragedy was looming that would shatter her life. On the evening of Saturday, May 3, 2003, Katie and her roommate planned to attend a Pi Kappa Alpha fraternity party on campus. However, they had spent the previous night drinking, which left Katie already intoxicated before arriving at the party. Known to become emotional and tearful when drunk, Katie's roommate typically kept an eye on her. At the party, Katie asked a man named Maurice to dance, but he refused. This rejection angered Katie, sparking a confrontation between the two. Her disruptive behavior annoyed the party host, who eventually asked her to leave because she was causing a scene. According to the fraternity's pledge, members were expected to ensure everyone got home safely. So, as Katie was leaving the party, someone offered to drive her home. Meanwhile, her roommate, enjoying the party, chose to stay behind and promised to check on Katie later. Before leaving, the roommate thanked the driver for making sure Katie got home safely and planned to spend the night at a friend's place. Around 2:30 a.m. on May 4, 2003, shortly after Katie left the party, her roommate called to confirm that Katie had arrived safely. Katie answered while lying in bed and told her roommate there was a frightening man in her room, someone she didn't recognize. To calm Katie down, the roommate called the man in Katie's room. The man introduced himself as the person who had driven Katie home, assured the roommate that Katie was safe despite being drunk, and then ended the call. Although Katie's roommate heard a second male voice in the background, she wasn't overly concerned, and told Katie they'd talk again in the morning. About 30 minutes later, the fire alarm at Hoopollen Hall went off, a common event in college dorms, often triggered by something minor like burnt popcorn. Many students, some still half asleep, began to leave, assuming it was just another false alarm. However, when firefighters arrived and found a badly burned body, they realized the situation was far more serious. First responders quickly entered Katie's dorm room to locate the fire's origin. Inside, they saw that the sprinkler system had already extinguished the flames. But something caught their attention, a glimmering object lying on the bed. Upon closer inspection, the firefighters realized the shimmering object was actually a person. Katie. She was severely burned and bruised, with a shirt covering her face and another piece of fabric wrapped around the sprinkler system. The scene revealed a chilling truth. Katie had started the fire herself, setting herself ablaze while still alive. As the firefighters carefully carried her out, she managed to whisper, "Take me home." Katie suffered severe burns, mainly on her chest and groin. Police found evidence that hairspray had been used as an accelerant, while alcohol gel was also discovered, likely an attempt to destroy evidence of an assault. Due to her critical condition, Katie was transferred to Vanderbilt Hospital in Nashville, Tennessee. Doctors explained that the burns were so severe they probably destroyed many of her nerve endings, which might have lessened her sensation of pain. Despite intensive medical care, Katie tragically passed away 3 days later, on May 7, 2003. Western Kentucky police initially focused on Katie's roommate's absence that night, since she was with another friend and had mentioned the strange phone call Katie had with an unknown man. This led investigators to look into the designated driver, who claimed he had driven Katie home and denied any knowledge of what happened to her after dropping her off at the dorm. They also questioned Katie's boyfriend, Maurice, who had an alibi, but their suspicions returned to the driver when new information revealed that Katie wasn't alone in the car that night. There was another passenger. Upon further questioning, the driver admitted that Katie had a friend with her in the car, Stephen Souls, 20 years old. Stephen, from nearby Scottsville but not a WKU student, had attended the party with friends, but had gotten drunk and passed out in the back seat on the way back to Katie's dorm. Katie teased Stephen about his condition, calling him a sick boy. When they arrived at Katie's dorm, Katie got out of the car, and Stephen told his friend he wanted to talk to Katie and holler at her. That was the last time the driver saw Stephen Souls. By the time of his arrest, Stephen already had a reputation in his community as a dishonest individual prone to stealing. A year or two older than Katie, he was known for being lazy and unmotivated, neither attending school nor holding a job, which unfortunately was common among underachievers in Scottsville, Kentucky. He also frequently associated with other cannabis users. Though Stephen hadn't faced any major legal trouble before, those around him labeled him a liar, cheat, and thief due to his dishonest behavior. Many in his social circle didn't trust him and saw him as someone who often exploited others. From Stephen's own statement, authorities learned that he and a group of friends had attended the fraternity party that night. They had been drinking heavily and were quite intoxicated by the time the party started. Stephen said he was feeling sick, so he rested in the back of a friend's car to recover. He also claimed that on the way to Katie's dorm, he and Katie were being playful and made out. At first, Souls gave only vague answers about what happened. He initially denied going up to Katie's dorm, but later admitted he had followed her out of the car and slipped inside before the door closed. He confessed to following Katie to her room and being intimate with her. However, as police continued questioning him, his story kept shifting. Eventually, when confronted with accusations of harming Katie, Souls claimed he didn't hurt her himself, but insisted he knew who did. This revelation shifted the investigation's focus entirely. Souls explained that his friend Lucas Goodrum had called him while he was in Katie's room. When Souls told Goodrum where he was, Goodrum arrived at the dorm. Souls said that once Goodrum showed up, he wanted to be with Katie as well. When Katie refused, Souls said Goodrum became angry and violent toward her. Katie tried to fight back, but couldn't escape because Goodrum was bigger and stronger. Souls described witnessing the horrifying scene as Goodrum tortured and set Katie on fire. Authorities looked into Lucas Goodrum's background and found he was 21 in February and wasn't enrolled at WKU or any other school. His history revealed instability, with no steady job or ongoing education. Goodrum had previously gone through a failed marriage and had a young son. His ex-wife claimed he had been abusive to her. Additionally, the day before Katie's attack, Goodrum was arrested on domestic violence charges involving his then-girlfriend. These facts painted a disturbing picture of Goodrum as someone with a violent past and unstable behavior. Goodrum's family background revealed that his mother had married a stepfather who was the heir to the well-known Dollar General stores. Because of this connection to wealth, Goodram often received money despite his unwillingness to work and his struggles with drug abuse. Eventually, he moved to Scottsville with his mother and stepfather. Regarding the two suspects, Soules and Goodram were friends but frequently clashed because Goodram saw Soules as a freeloader and dishonest person. On one occasion, Soules reportedly told Goodram's girlfriend that Goodram was cheating on her, which sparked a heated argument between them. In the heat of the moment, Goodram used a racial slur against Soules, who was mixed race. Despite their conflicts, on the night of May 3rd, the two agreed to hang out and went to the party with mutual friends. When questioned by police, Goodram admitted to meeting Katie at the party but denied ever going to her dorm room. However, a resident assistant from another dorm testified that Goodram was seen in the lobby of that building around 2:30 a.m., the same time Katie was on the phone with her roommate. Goodram maintained his innocence, insisting he had no involvement in Katie Autry's assault and murder. He also had an alibi for the time of the incident, with both his mother and father confirming he was at home before the fire alarm sounded at 4 a.m. However, police suspected there was more to the story than what Goodram claimed. They tended to believe Stephen Soules's version of events, especially since Goodram had a documented history of violence while Soules did not. According to the investigators, there was no solid reason to doubt Soules's account. Consequently, on May 12, 2003, both Soules and Goodram were arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Given the severity of the charges, both faced the possibility of the death penalty. During the trial, forensic testing revealed that DNA found inside Katie's body matched Stephen Soules's DNA, despite attempts to eliminate evidence with alcohol gel and burning. In contrast, no physical evidence linked Goodram directly to the crime scene. When questioned, Soules admitted to striking Katie, but claimed he did so out of fear, saying Goodram had threatened him and that his own life was at risk if he didn't comply. Despite Soules's confession, the lack of strong evidence against Lucas Goodram made it uncertain whether Goodram would be convicted. Due to the limited proof against Goodram, the police decided to offer Soules a plea deal. Under this agreement, Soules pled guilty to multiple charges, including murder, assault, sodomy, robbery, and aiding and abetting robbery and assault. In return for accepting the plea deal, Soules avoided the death penalty. However, as part of the deal, he was required to testify against Lucas Goodram in Goodram's upcoming capital murder trial. During his testimony, Soules altered his story again, claiming that Goodram was the primary aggressor who attacked and beat Katie. Soules also admitted that he sprayed hairspray and set Katie on fire, but insisted he did so only because Goodram forced and threatened him into doing it. This new testimony contradicted Soules's earlier claim that Goodram was the one who burned Katie alive. Forensic evidence showed that only Stephen Soules's DNA was found at the crime scene, and Soules eventually confessed to both setting Katie on fire and causing her death. Conversely, Lucas Goodram had an alibi for the night in question, and firmly denied any involvement. The only links to him were Soules's testimony and a statement from a jailhouse informant who claimed Goodram confessed while awaiting trial. However, the jury deemed this evidence insufficient. As a result, Goodram was acquitted of all charges and released in February 2005. Prosecutor Chris Kahn accused Goodram's parents of lying to shield him from legal trouble, but the evidence wasn't strong enough to keep Goodram behind bars. Having spent 2 years in jail, Goodram expressed indifference towards Soules and was relieved to be free and reunited with his family. He also mentioned plans to move to Texas to work on his family's ranch. Katie's family was heartbroken, believing that Lucas Goodram had escaped justice for their loved one's death, while Stephen Soules was sentenced to life in prison without parole. Soules is currently serving his sentence in the Kentucky Department of Corrections for his role in the tragic events that led to Katie's death. The case attracted significant attention within the community, sparking widespread public discussion and debate. The controversy surrounding Goodram, who was white and wealthy, versus Soules, who was mixed race and less financially privileged, added a complex layer to the case. Many believed Goodram's freedom was largely due to his wealth, which allowed him access to high-quality legal representation, something Soules lacked. This disparity in resources fueled widespread perceptions that Soules was treated unfairly in the justice system. The racial dynamics of the case became a hot topic online, with many people feeling that Soules' mixed-race background heavily influenced the outcome. In the years that followed, Lucas Goodram faced additional charges related to domestic violence and making terroristic threats against his ex-wife. After moving to Texas, Goodram disappeared from the public eye, and his current whereabouts remain unknown. Despite the widespread belief in his guilt, several unanswered questions continue to perplex both investigators and the public. The dormitory required resident keycards for entry, and while Stephen Soules admitted to following Katie inside just before the door closed, it remains unclear how Goodrum gained access later that night. Moreover, Goodrum's DNA was not found on Katie, while Soules's was, raising further doubts. The account of someone seeing Goodrum at the dorm at 2:30 a.m. conflicts with the alibi provided by his parents, adding more uncertainty. These unresolved issues deepen the mystery of the case. Ultimately, the authorities were unable to present the crucial evidence needed, leaving the question open. Was Goodrum a cunning criminal mastermind, or was he truly uninvolved in the terrible events that unfolded in that dorm room? What do you think happened? Was Goodrum the main criminal mastermind, or was Soules the only monster in the story?